Hello, it's Debbie, your instructor for Math 86, and I am going to go over a couple problems that people have asked me about. So I am going to share my screen and get my whiteboard out. The first one that I was asked to go over, move my screen, is number 12, and this is what section? 2.7, I believe. Yep, 2.7, number 12. Your problem will differ depending on, it's just an algorithmic program with wamap. So the problem is 12x, at least on my end, times x minus 3 plus 7 times x minus 3. There's actually a couple ways to do this. My suggestion, however, would not necessarily be to, oh, it does say to factor. All right. So look at the common factor here. What I'm going to do is down here, I'm going to write, what if I had 12xa plus 7a? Your common factor in this particular problem would be a. There's an a here, and there's an a here. So what I would do is I would factor out that a and see what was left. So it's like the reverse of the distributive property. So for this particular part, I ask myself, a times what is equal to this over here? And the answer is 12x. Let me take a second. Do you see how a times 12x would actually give you 12xa? This is multiplication. I could call it 12ax. I could call it 12xa, whatever. But so far, so good in the distribution. Then what I have to do is say, well, a times what is going to give me this guy over here, 7a. And it's a times 7 that's going to give me what I need. I factored out the a. Now this one looks up here a lot more complicated, and it is just because in place of a, I put x minus 3. So the common factor for this problem up above is x minus 3. And that's what I'm going to factor out. So the common factor is x minus 3. Just like the common factor in the one below was a. Then what I have to do is I have to ask myself x minus 3 times what is going to give me 12x times x minus 3. The answer is 12x. Let me take a moment. Look at what I've written here. X minus 3 times 12x. So sure enough, that does equal that first part of the problem. Then the next thing that I have to do is ask myself, all right, x minus 3 times what is going to give me this part up here? 7 times x minus 3. And the answer is 7. What I always do when I am checking to see if I did something correctly is go ahead and then use the distributive property. We're not really very good at factoring because that's a little bit more foreign. We learn that next. But most of us are super good at using the distributive property. So in this problem below, I would take a times 12x and that gives me 12xa, or what in the world? Sometimes things just come up on my screen. I don't know where that yellow thing went. Oh my gosh. All right, let me see if I can undo that. I've got to plug this back in. I apologize for the glitch. Control Z. Nope, it's not controlling Z. It's not undoing. Undo, undo, undo. Oh yeah, it is undoing it. Hold up. Oh, it's not a, there we go. Okay. So, like I was saying, when I go to check it, I use the distributive property, and A times 12x is 12xa, and then A times 7 is 7a. Likewise, oh, I should close my parentheses on that guy above. I could use the distributive property above. And if I do that, I can get the answer that I originally had. We're not used to distributing things this way, but it's not a bad practice. So if I take my x minus 3 and multiply it by 12x, I get x minus 3 times 12x. That's this first part. And then I'm going to distribute again, and I'm going to say, I'm going to multiply that x minus 3 times 7. It's not written exactly, but these guys are equivalent. Why? Because multiplication is what we call commutative. What I do to one side, I can multiply two things. A times B is the same thing as B times A. Okay, I hope that clears that up.